This week on the Expired podcast, we talked to a friend of Gavin Anderson's who would like to remain anonymous. Stick around. At the end of this episode, we are going to speak with Denise and Mike, who are Gavin's aunt and dad.
Last time I hung out with Gavin was, I believe it was about a month before he passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And so, first of all, I think about that a lot. I feel bad for not seeing him more often around that time because he was going through stuff. And I think this is really important to put this out there because I kind of feel like it's been left out of the conversation a little bit. But Gavin's state of mind, at least that night I saw him. And a few times before that I saw him too. It seemed like he was really stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was multiple stressors that he was dealing with. One of them was the job. You know, he lost his job, essentially. He was working for another friend of ours. He was working for his father, their company. And I'm not sure the very specific details of, why he lost his hours there. I believe it was something to do with, so the father owned this company. He had his one son working for them, and he had Gavin working for them too. And the father has another son, older son, and, he has a family, got kids and stuff, and so I think the older son started working for them too, and that kind of, Gavin didn't have as many hours after that. He couldn't really work as much for them because, obviously the father is going to give, the work to his sons, especially the son that has a family. So that kind of pushed Gavin out, I think, of that job. Now, from my understanding too, he did actually keep working for them on and off, just, when there was a few things to do, like tiling.
Mm-hmm.
But from my understanding, he kind of needed to get another job. But last time I hung out with him, I went to his house, and I remember I was dealing with some stuff too. I don't know. I think I had just broken up with my girlfriend at the time, and so I was in a bad place. So was he. And so I went over there and, kind of hoping to get to vent a little bit to Gavin because he was easy to vent to. He was easy to talk to. Gavin was an amazing person when it came to, socializing, talking with people anywhere we went.
Mm-hmm.
He was always talking to people. It didn't matter if we knew him or didn't, he could start a conversation. And,
Never met a stranger kind of person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That really was true. That's how he was. He was awesome. But yeah, I went to his house and I just remember, sitting on the couch with him as normal, and this next part I'm about to say is kind of the reason I want to stay anonymous. Gavin and I, we drank and we smoked. Putting that out there, it's something I told the private investigator,
mm-hmm.
A year and a half or 2 years ago, whenever it was the first round of private investigation happened. And I talked to a private investigator. I gave that guy every detail of what Gavin and I got into.
Mm-hmm.
But Gavin and I, that last time I saw him, we did our normal thing. We, I think it was just whiskey, just drinking a little whiskey, smoking a little weed, as we usually do. And I just remember talking to him, and, he was seemingly really depressed, really stressed out because, I think he had been out of a job for a few months at that point. And, I just remember talking to him and trying to give him advice, trying to help him out. Like, man, there's other jobs out there. You're going to have to look for something else. You know, I can't remember if I did, but I'm sure that at some point that night I told him, like, hey, come and work at the restaurant I work at, man. Like, you know, there's space for you here. But, you know, he had a really nice job doing what he liked, and I think that really tore him up when he wasn't able to do that anymore. I think maybe there was something with his truck too that was going wrong, but I can't really remember. But I remember talking to him about that and him not being super responsive with the with the advice or with the the support I was trying to give him. It was I think he was really stuck in his own head, and of course the alcohol and the drugs probably weren't helping that. I also remember trying to vent to him about the stuff I was going through, and it kind of felt like, yeah, he wasn't super listening like he usually does. And yeah, I think that's kind of just how the night went. We were just kind of just talking until we were just watching TV and he fell asleep. I remember that. He fell asleep on the couch as we were watching something, The Boys or Umbrella Academy or probably some random YouTube, whatever. And after he fell asleep, I just got up and left. That was the last time I saw him. And it would be another month before before it happened, before he passed away. And I wish I went to go see him more. I wish I would have seen, I wish I would have seen all that as a red flag that something was really, really wrong. But
did you speak to him between the time that you last saw him until his death?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I tried to look through my old phones because I still have a couple of my old phones that will still turn on. The one from that period of time, though, is gone. I don't know where it's at. I think it was broken, and so I got rid of it. And so I don't have those messages. The oldest messages I have from him are from like 2021. But yeah, I think that was the last time I talked to him or spoke to him. It was I guess I was just going through a lot with my girlfriend leaving at the time and her moving out, having someone else move back in so I can keep my apartment.
Mm-hmm.
It was
and we're in the midst of coming off a pandemic. I feel like everyone was a little bit depressed, and some people are still depressed.
Yeah, I don't think that was a big issue for him. I mean, even kind of during the pandemic, but towards the end of 2020, we all kind of started to hang out again. 2021, obviously, we were hanging out again too, and
yeah,
it was. I really think it was just, I don't know, him losing that job, maybe something with his truck, and I don't know. I think there's other things that bothered Gavin, like always, but they never really like brought him down, I guess. Like, I don't know the last time Gavin had a girlfriend. I remember the last time he was dating and talking with a girl, and I just remember it kind of falling through. I don't really know what happened, but I feel like that's something that weighs on your mind, But I don't know. I really can't talk about most of that. I don't really know what I'm talking about when it comes to Gavin's, romantic relationships. I know for the most of the time that I knew him really well, which was after high school for the most part. I knew Gavin in high school, but we really didn't start hanging out until I was in college, which I started in like 2016. So this is probably like 2017, 2018 that I really started hanging out with Gavin. So least from that time, like, I don't really remember him being with anybody. He was kind of just, with his friends or with his dog.
Yeah.
That's kind of it, or his family, obviously. But so he had a lot of people around him. But yeah. Anyways, that's the last time I saw Gavin. Last time I hung out with him.
So what, if you don't mind me asking, what do you think happened?
As far as his death?
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you this. When it first happened, I went with what we thought happened, which was the idea of him asphyxiating or overdosing, essentially with whatever the police said.
Right.
After seeing these 2 episodes and hearing from, or actually just reading a couple of Shannon's posts on Facebook, I had no idea that was going on with the police and everything. And I think it's really important that they look into that, make sure they get every single report that they can get. Toxicology, if that's available, make sure they get everything. And if there's something they can do, as far as suing the police for not doing a good enough investigation, they should follow through with that. I think that's important. Mm-hmm. But as far as what I think happened, I think it's possible that, it was just an overdose or him passing out on the couch in the wrong way. And this is a stupid example, but you've got rock stars that have done that same sort of thing where they get too messed up, drink too much, do too much whatever, and they pass out, facing straight up, and they choke on their vomit, or they pass out straight down and they, suffocate. Mm-hmm. Like it's possible. I will say that. I don't know what happened. I will say that too, that I wasn't there.
Right.
Last time I saw him was a month before he passed away, so I'm not really the best source for that. There are a few other things I can say, though.
Okay.
The private investigator. So this is going to contradict with something Shannon and Mike said about the toxicology report, that there was just a sip of beer and a hit of vape in his system. When I talked to the private investigator, I was told by him that there was alcohol, marijuana, and one other thing in his system. That's what I was told by the private investigator, and obviously he asked what that other thing could have been. And so that right there, I don't know if the private investigator was just telling me something to try to get something out of me, because you can kind of tell, by their questions what they're after. There's a few other questions that the private investigator asked me that caught my attention and kind of made it obvious what was going on as far as, what they were trying to figure out. Mm-hmm. But so there is that. And that's why I think it's really important that the toxicology report is, that they can get that so they can find out, like, what was in his system. Was it 2 sips of beer and a hit of vape, which I'm assuming is nicotine? Or was there marijuana, and something else? And, what level of alcohol really was in his system? Because I'll be honest, if the only way I believe that there was a sip of beer in his system is if he ran out of alcohol, because I think at that point he was drinking more than just a sip every day. Again, I don't have any evidence for that. I don't know, because it had been a month since I seen him. But from the state that I saw him in, it seemed like he had been drinking a lot, more than he had ever done. Because, the years that we hung out, we were young, we were in our early 20s. So, yeah, we drank and we smoked and we partied, played beer pong, played darts, played video games, went snowboarding, went Top Golf. Of course we drank at Top Golf, that. That's what we did. I wasn't super healthy. I'm not gonna I'm going to admit to that. I know it's not healthy. But I think towards the end, he was drinking more than he'd ever had before. Just from the state that he was in, that's what I think. That's just what I think. I don't have any proof of that.
Right.
And so the toxicology report, it's important that they get that. There's a few other things that the private investigators said and asked that it made it obvious that this was a homicide allegation or investigation that they were looking into. And specifically, the questions were kind of geared around, did Gavin ever have contact with this guy's wife, kind of thing. Did Gavin ever have contact with this guy's girlfriend? It seemed like they were trying to find a motive for essentially one of our other friends that were in our tight circle, or his older brother kind of thing. It seemed like they were trying to figure out if like one of them like just murdered them because like an affair or something. And when it came to that, I was blown away because I've known all these guys, not just Gavin, but the other guys in this that I'm thinking of right now.
And you don't think they had anything to do with it?
Absolutely not. I don't.
Do you still talk to them?
I wouldn't say every day, but yeah, there's the guy in question is my best friend. I've known him since I was 4 years old. I was born, another state, moved here when I was 4 years old with my family, Chattanooga, and him and his family came over and, brought us something, but I just remember like they were the first people that we met when I came to Chattanooga. And he also shares the same name with me. He's also a redhead like me, and that's as much information as I'll give out about that. But he's my best friend. And his older brother has been in the picture, the same amount of time. I've known them since I was, just a kid. Absolutely do not think they would have it in them to do that at all. I think if anything ever did happen with Gavin and someone's like wife or something like that, I definitely don't think that, the outcome would have been murder.
Right.
I think it would have been a divorce, a confrontation, someone's ass getting beat.
Sorry, my cat is...
You're good. I've got my cat here too, sitting up here next to me. But no. And again, that's just what I think. I can speak to these guys' character. I've known them since I was just a little kid. There's one other guy in our friend group. I've known him since second grade too, and same thing with him. If there was an affair with Gavin and this guy's like girlfriend or something, again, if it was found out, it would not have been murder. It would have been a fight. It would have been maybe hands getting thrown, but I doubt that. It would have just been a lot of like name calling and like, I'm not going to talk to you ever again, bro, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because these guys aren't crazy. That's just my take on that. Personally, sorry, go ahead.
What's your opinion on the state of his apartment? With the breakers being off except for the fridge and the air conditioner, the, thermostat set way down, the t-shirt and towels that had blood on them.
Yeah. My opinion on that, well, first of all, I wasn't there. So all my opinion is based off of what Shannon and Mike has said.
Uh-huh.
And so, again, it's really, really important that they get all the documents they can from the police. And so we can figure out, if the police took note of all those things, and if they didn't, then it kind of comes down to, well, he said, she said. And so my opinion on that, I don't know why those things would be like that. Maybe there's some simple answers for that. Like, if Gavin didn't have a job, he's probably low on money. If he he's low on money. Maybe he's not willing to pay for, I don't know, certain utilities, and that would maybe explain the breaker or the AC, but I don't know. That sounds really weird. The fact that there was blood on a shirt, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's weird. I will say, last time I went to Gavin's house that night, his apartment did kind of smell a little bit from the dog. His dog, Liza, she was awesome. I love Liza. She was a little wild.
Mm-hmm.
She was a little wild, though, and I don't know if it's just he wasn't cleaning up some of the messes that she made or something, but it was a little smelly in there. And so I think there might have been a state of decay in in his apartment, which I would attribute to his mental health, his mental state at that time, which again is another red flag for me that I wish I would have, thought more about. And I don't know. When it comes to all that random stuff in the apartment, I don't know. I don't really. All I can say is, I hope they can figure it out. I hope they can get all the answers that they can from the police about that. I asked my other friends if they wanted to talk on this, and they said no. They both have their reasons. I wish one of them would come forward and talk, because he was there when his body was discovered. I believe he was there.
Yeah.
Because they lived in the same apartment complex, but he can't deal with this mentally,
Yeah. I mean, you could encourage them, however you feel after this.
Yeah.
A sense of relief, just thinking about the good times.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I feel a little bit more complicated about this than just relief. Bringing all this back up, it's painful for everybody. Mm-hmm. I know it is, and that's maybe not fair to say, because it's probably the most painful for Shannon and Mike. So I feel like I owe it to them to give my side of the story, and that's something I want to do. It's something that I decided I wanted to do when I saw Shannon's post that she was going on the Expired podcast. And I mainly feel this way because I feel like when Gavin passed away, I didn't really know his parents very well. I only saw them a couple times, talked to them a couple times maybe. Mm-hmm. I think I went to their house one time in high school maybe for his birthday or something. But I wanted to do something because I feel like I really didn't do very much for them when this first happened. And I mean, honestly, the reason for that was because at the funeral, Gavin's funeral, his service, my friend's older brother was asked to leave the room. That they didn't, I don't know if it was Shannon or Mike or both of them or someone else, that they didn't want my friend's older brother in the room. And we would later find out that, they think that he murdered Gavin. And so that put us all off. And then the private investigation happened. Of course, we cooperated with that. I cooperated with them. And that made it even more obvious that they thought that our friend's older brother, murdered him.
Do you know if your friend and his brother, do you know if they spoke with the private investigator?
I believe my friend did. Two of my friends did. I don't know who all did it. But,
right.
I'm not really sure about the other parts of that. I just know I met with one of the private investigators, at a restaurant here close to my house, and we talked. I told him everything I could, everything Gavin and I got into, every drug we did, mm-hmm. To try and figure out if there was a third thing in his system, what it would have been, where mm-hmm. he would have gotten it from, that sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm trying to get at is there was we didn't really like our friend and his family being essentially accused of murder. That really put us off. I mean, from our perspective, we don't think Gavin was murdered. And so for one of us to be called out like that, it's really hurtful, and I think that put a lot of us off, and I think that will kind of explain, my other two friends' behavior now, why they don't want to come on here and talk. They're kind of tired of this.
Yeah.
They talked with a private investigator. Their best friend died, and now they're being called murderers, essentially. And again, I understand Mike and Shannon are really hurting. They lost their son.
Mm-hmm.
I could try to empathize with that, but I'll never know what that's like. I mean, I don't really plan on having kids. I hope I never have to learn what that feels like. And so I can understand why they want to explore every option, and they have a right to do that. But at the same time, like, that's hard for us. One of us is being called out like that. We don't really want to come on here and talk about it anymore. It's been 2 years. We talked to the private investigators.
Did y'all ever talk to the police?
Police never came to me.
Well,
I would imagine
they didn't do their job, so I wouldn't imagine them.
Yeah.
I
would imagine, like, at the initial investigation that they would talk to everybody there. And so once again, they need to go through the proper channels and get everything they can from those police, figure out why stuff happened or why it didn't happen. That's the most important thing, because without that, it's just he said, she said, and I think they did this, and I think they did that, and that's not helpful. If we're going to get down to it, I think it's important for, his friends to come out so we can piece together a clear picture of, what was going on at the time, he died. For me personally, seeing what he went through and hearing from what my other friends said about him, it really seemed like he was drinking himself to death. And I know that is probably really, really hard for Shannon and Mike to hear. And I'm really sorry to both of them for not being there for him when I saw him in that state. I feel really bad because when I was 19, it was 2016, my dad shot himself. And he was going through the same thing. He was depressed. He was drinking himself to death, drinking way more than he ever did. Last time I talked to him, he didn't sound too good. It sounded really sad. And I didn't catch those red flags. And so I've been through this before.
Yeah.
And now I've been through it again. And I don't know. Maybe it takes a few times going through this shit to really, it takes a few times to go through this, I guess, really understand what the red flags are. It should be obvious, I guess, to everyone listening to this, but when you're going through it, I mean, it's not always obvious that it's going to come to that. I'm not saying Gavin killed himself. I really, personally, I think it was probably an accident, but we can't really know that until we go through all the police stuff and figure out, why stuff was left checked, why people weren't talked to, if that stuff happened, why did it happen?
Yeah.
But from my last experience with Gavin, plus the other things I've heard from my friends, and I don't think it's fair for me to share with what they have shared, because that's just, it's coming from another source that's not really reliable.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you what I experienced and what I think, but from the things that they told me, it lines up with what I saw. Gavin, he was drinking a lot. He wasn't doing too good. He was really worried about his stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It's a crappy situation. What can I say?
Yeah, it is. Well, thank you for taking the time and, dredging up all these feelings and, all the heartache that it, has caused. I would encourage you to encourage your friends if they would like to talk to us. We are more than open to that. And
Yeah.
You know, it could be a relief. It could be like, okay, finally, like the bullseye's off my back, per se.
Yeah. I mean, I'll talk to them again. I think they've been watching these expired podcast episodes that y'all been doing. I know I have tried to get them on, but ultimately I'll respect the decision if they choose to come on or choose not to.
Yeah, absolutely. No pressure. I just wanted to, you know, reach out or whatever.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, thanks for having me. And again, I don't know. I want to say thanks to Shannon and Mike for being okay with me coming on and talking. And I think one more time, I don't know. I guess wanted to apologize to them for not reaching out sooner.
Yeah.
And sharing what I've experienced with Gavin, I guess. I don't know how. I'm sure it's not going to be fun for them to hear this, but it's not going to be. Yeah. It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate your time. Okay, well, now that we have heard from one of the friends, we wanted to extend the invite to Gavin's aunt and father again. It's good to see y'all.
See you two again.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit about Gavin? I mean, you got to spend a lot of time with him, you know,
his whole entire life.
His whole life.
So I made some notes, just of some things that stand out with Gavin. Favorite memories would be St. Patrick's Day. I think my sister mentioned that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But specifically his 21st birthday. He showed up to my promotion. He didn't have anything green on. And I was like, oh my God, come here. I work for Host of Wine and Spirits House, and so we do St. Patrick's Day and push different brands. Mm-hmm. So I took him to my car, and I was like, here's a t-shirt, here's some beads, here's a hat, and just decked him all out. And he was like, oh my God, what can I do? And I was like, go in and sell whatever the product was that I was selling. I told him what was in the drink, how much it was, and he walked in and he was like, good people, we are here. And just sold more than the 2 shot girls that I had hired for that event. So the following year, I actually hired Gavin to work it because he was so good with the rapport and that kind of thing.
I love that.
As far as little things that make him special, and I have prayed not to cry telling this. When we were cleaning out Gavin's apartment, he had this like half-gallon Crown Royal bag, and I picked it up and it jingled, and I'm like, what in the world? And I opened it up, and at Christmas, whenever I write packages, I put little bells or some little something on the bow, and he had saved every one of those in that Crown Royal bag.
I love that.
Because he was just so sweet, very appreciative. Everything I'd ever made him, he had sitting out in his apartment, proudly displayed and not ashamed to say, oh yeah, my aunt made that.
That's
so
cool. Love that.
Those are little things about Kat. He was also a little fireball when he was a little kid, but which he could be a fireball as an adult too, but he was a good friend, and he was a good person, and I loved him very much. He used to babysit my son when Knox was about 9. Gavin and Reed would have been like early teens, and he would play with Knox all the time and do things they shouldn't have done until we found out Knox was about 18 with all the riding bikes to Walmart, which was incredibly dangerous.
Yeah.
But even when Knox was a baby, Gavin would leave the group and go take Knox and put him in his baby bed and climb in his baby bed and play with him.
That's sweet.
For hours. He would also ravage my house for coin change. And then walk up and go, I found these coins. And try to give it back to him because he knew I was going to say, no, you can keep it. So he would forage my house every time he came back. But those are just some fun little memories I have of Gavin.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that he kept the bells.
Mm-hmm.
That is so cool.
I have them.
I was gonna say you could make something really cool with those.
Yeah, good. I should put them on his tree.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And he was also clever because I feel like I use those Crown Royal bags to for dice, for board games and stuff.
Mm.
They hold anything. So he was clever because a lot of people I feel like will just get rid of them. Like, no, they're perfect for keeping things like that, and no one's ever gonna look. And it's a Crown Royal bag.
Yeah.
I love that. That's cool.
Deep breaths.
Deep breaths.
I find it so interesting. All I see is Shannon and Caitlin. I see Caitlin, I hear Shannon.
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting to me.
Katie she looks a lot like me when I was young, for sure.
You'll have the same mannerisms when you talk and stuff. It looks like her.
Yeah.
So cool. All right.
All right. Well,
Now that Gavin's here.
now that Gavin's in the room.
Yeah.
So, what all did you want to talk about? I know a couple of things from the interview earlier that you wanted to clear up, and we wanted to give you that opportunity.
Did you want to discuss the toxicology that you had talked with your friend about?
So, several times it was mentioned that he would encourage us to get the toxicology report.
Mm-hmm.
And numerous times during all the podcasts, it has been mentioned that we have the toxicology report. There was some confusion, and I do know that the private investigator said something to the effect of they were trying to figure out what the other drug was in his system,
Mm-hmm.
simply because he nor any of us knew how to read this thing. The only thing we needed to be concerned with was the positive findings.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else that's listed on this are things that Gavin was tested for, but the levels, if any, were too low to be reported as positive.
Right.
So Gavin's BAC, his blood alcohol level,
Mm-hmm.
was a 0.049. The legal limit to get a DUI, if you are over a 0.08, then you're going to jail.
Yep.
Gavin's limit was almost half of that.
Mm-hmm.
So to say he had a sip of beer, I think my sister had mentioned it was like a sip of beer. It would be like maybe an ounce of whiskey. Now, if it was he just drank it, or an hour later he could have had, a fifth of whiskey and it was 10 hours
Mm-hmm.
later. Those are all variables, so you can't really say, well, he had a beer and that's what made it.
Right.
Because he could have been housed the night before, and so regardless,
Yep.
his ABV at the time of his death was a 0.049.
Yep.
So you wouldn't even feel that.
Yep.
The other thing that he tested positive for was Delta 9 THC. That level was a 0.89. So to put that into perspective, for somebody who smokes on a regular basis, with evidently Gavin did, according to his friends, somebody could have not smoked for 2 or 3 days and their level be a 0.89. Now,
Okay.
how do I know this? Because I have spoken to a medical examiner. She told me that would be a general hypothesis, pending on his weight, pending on his age,
Yeah.
pending on what exact. So there's all these variables, but to say if you're a regular smoker and you don't have anything for 2 days, maybe 3 days, your level could be that high is a very reasonable assumption.
Okay.
Okay. So Gavin wasn't high and he wasn't drunk.
Yep.
And there were no other drugs in his system.
Mm-hmm.
That is what this report says.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the likelihood of him suffocating on a pillow, a healthy 25-year-old kid, is
Highly unlikely.
it's incredibly unlikely.
Yeah.
This toxicology report, because it states in the PI's investigation that the detective was investigating Gavin's case as a drug overdose. That was how he was investigating Gavin's case, was as a drug overdose, until he got the toxicology report back. And then he didn't investigate at all.
Mm.
It was nothing.
And this,
Nobody was questioned.
And the PI, I mentioned again, is a former police officer,
They both were.
long term police officer. So it wouldn't be the first time that they've seen a toxicology report. So they know how to read it. But also, I feel like they would have seen that and then been like, oh shit, something else has happened here, which is why they wouldn't want to investigate
Right.
further.
And when I spoke with my friend who is a
Was it
God,
the forensic
she's
chemist
a forensic. No,
or
she's
forensics?
she's medical examiner.
Mm-hmm.
She, when we first got this information back, I ran it past her, and she was like, "I'm gonna call you back." She had two other of her associates look at it because she was like, "I am emotionally vested. I'm gonna have two others look at it." And when she called me back, she said, "I don't know what to tell you outside of this whole thing stinks." Now she had also had a copy of the external autopsy that they did on Gavin. And based off of the bruising
Mm-hmm.
that was on the backs of his leg and on his back and the position he was in and how the bruising was, it did not look like he suffocated on a pillow.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, she goes, think about when your nose gets stopped up and you can't breathe. You're going to roll over. I mean, that is a natural instinct. People who don't do that are infants because they can't.
Mm-hmm.
People that are crippled in some way that don't have
mobility to do so. Yeah.
Or you are so inebriated that you can't move.
Yeah, your normal reflexes won't react.
Right. And that's when you hear people like the rock stars that choke on their vomit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, to do that, you need to be on your back. Gavin was on his stomach face down.
Mm-hmm.
So even if he had thrown up, he wouldn't have.
Aspirated on it.
Well, yeah, most likely. But he wasn't messed up, so.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
So-
I think the toxicology report, in my opinion, has been one of the most evident driving forces
Mhm.
of like, there are questions that don't have answers yet. Like, what, how? So many.
Yeah. Well, and they had to put something on there because before they got these results back, he had already signed off for Gavin to be cremated. Gavin wasn't even at the medical examiner's office 24 hours.
And yeah, and was that was the cremation signed off by them before they called you or after they called you?
The medical examiner had released Gavin to the funeral home in less than 24 hours. And we had been told he had already had an autopsy. So I signed off for the cremation at the funeral home in less than 48 hours.
Mm.
And the problem with all that is the toxicology report is dated August 11th. And so the medical examiner's report in which he defines the cause of death was dated after that, and I do not have the medical examiner's report here. So his report was nearly a month after, Gavin was already dead and cremated.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, we could not go back and have anything done.
Mm-hmm.
If you Google positional asphyxia, one of the first things that I read was basically it is a very rare cause of death, and as Denise stated, it is, normally with people that cannot get them out of the position, or they are too, either intoxicated or, unable to get them out of the position.
Something else has to play a role in it.
Right. But it also stated, in the Google search that I found that this determination as a cause of death is based on findings from an autopsy. So I don't know how
They
Metcalf
here.
came to that determination without those type of findings. And it also stated that it is normally due to some kind of compression on the chest, which goes in alignment with, these several specialists that we have had look at the police photos that they basically say there are specific patterns of bruising on Gavin's back that is evident of being held down. And as her friend that is a medical examiner says, there is not bruising after death. There is blood pooling from where he was laying face down
Right.
from the gravity, but there is not going to be bruising on the top side of his body that would mimic this type of pattern. So there is just a lot that goes on. We have had the police report that was mentioned in the previous our videos several times. We have had that police report since as soon as we can get it, and there's very little information on that. There's basically one paragraph in which Clayton Smith basically
That's it.
that's it right there.
Yeah.
In which he basically falsified information, in my opinion, where he basically says that on the scene, police located drug paraphernalia indicative of the use of marijuana, which is a true statement, but no other illegal substances or prescription drugs were found at this time. The last known, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong thing. He basically came in and stated that there was a history
There was a history of drug
of alcohol
and drug.
abuse and drug abuse, but then there's no medical history to document that. So I guess he's just basing this on his opinion that there was a history of abuse. Based on what, I don't know. But when you say there's no medical history, Gavin was never arrested for anything. So I don't know where you come off of this basis on putting that in a police report.
known
know,
drug and alcohol.
And alcohol abuse.
Is that report, is it, so that is just his personal report, so it wasn't like verified, or did he have to have like a witness to sign it, like another officer or anyone?
I believe the approving officer, and it's hard to read because this has been photocopied, but it looks like it says Chadwick.
It was
is
like
the approving
it's
officer.
his incident report that he has to
Okay.
turn in.
But yeah, there was nobody else that basically, to my understanding, told
And
him
the
that from
detective was investigating it as a drug overdose
right.
because he stated that he was a known drug addict and alcoholic. Well, nowhere in there does it say how he knows that.
Well, but there's like no evidence to back that up at all, at all.
No
Nowhere.
DUIs, no rushing him to the hospital because he.
And if they did an external autopsy, wouldn't they have found marks?
Needle marks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There would have been evidence of that
That which
externally.
also showed up in the tox report. Yeah.
I mean, it even states on the police report that the medical examiner on site, there is no direct cause of death determined at this time. So, I don't understand. So, the comments that we made that we did not feel like the police did not do their job was in reference to the fact that they did not collect evidence of the bloody towel that was on the floor, because to me, when you enter somebody's home and there is a 25-year-old dead on the couch and there's a bloody towel on the floor, I don't know how you just assume whose blood that is on the towel.
Yep.
And why you would assume that was his. I don't know how you jump to the conclusion that there's not foul play, that it's just
Especially when the air conditioning is cut down to 60 in the middle of July.
Yes. Yep.
And the
Breakers
were turned off.
Yeah.
And just to make reference, I know Gavin didn't have a job, and that might be why he cut the breakers off. Turn your air conditioner down to 60 in the middle of July and see what happens to your electric bill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
made no sense. And
Especially
even-
where we live, y'all. It's hot.
Yeah,
Hot.
or low 90s if you're lucky.
Mhm.
So cut your AC up and that and see what happens to your electric bill.
Yeah, and he had no say. Like, I asked him that. I said, what do you think about the AC being
The
turned,
friend. Yeah.
turned all the way up and all the other breakers except for the AC and the fridge? Like, what sense is that?
Well, if it's no sense. It makes zero sense. But I also, like she said, why was that not documented? Why was the bloody towel not picked up? It just seems like I have like a picture in my head of what that the whole scene looked like outside, inside, and it's almost like they would just go inside to like figure out what they were gonna say or do, and be okay with it, like because they wanted to go do something, get off work and go do something else. You know what I mean? Or like it was just very
no questions at all.
none.
I talked to veteran officer friend of mine yesterday, and he was being the devil's advocate. And I go, okay, let me give you a uber cliff note version of what's happened. And he was like, well, how did they get in the house? I was like, well, my sister went and got the key from the kid that
Lived upstairs.
the older brother that lived upstairs. And he was like, well, did Gavin know him? And I was like, yeah. I was like, and there was a little bit of history. He goes like, and nobody, he goes, we've been on the phone, 15, 20 minutes, and I've already, just by asking you these little questions.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, nobody asked any of these. And I'm like, no, nothing.
Yeah.
Nobody asked anything.
The police.
The police.
Yeah.
The detective, for that matter, really didn't.
Right.
And since kind of switching gears, going back a little bit, since the private investigator, once he saw the toxicology report and basically forfeited investigating any further for you guys, did you ever get a reason for that?
No.
No, I basically,
We
like
have
I
no
said, I
thoughts.
just had the text that he just seemed a little upset that I had questioned the reason why we had not received our notes from him. That was 13 months after Gavin's death, which we didn't hire them until August, which was 1 month after Gavin's passing. And they had basically finished up their investigation in September of 2022, which was 2 months after. So it basically took him 10 months, to send me the notes, which he said that Shannon, said that we weren't, in a big hurry to get them. And then basically requested the notes because we were traveling to Tullahoma to visit with an attorney there, and that we only had 1 month left on the statute of limitations coming up on July 18th of 2023. And he stated that he was out of town and he would get those to me as soon as he got back. He would mail them to me, and that this would be our last communication between us and my wife and I. And then, we received those in August of 2023.
After the statute.
After the statute of limitations had run out.
But it was finished 10 months prior.
Yeah.
Correct.
So that's where you kind of get these hypotheses of
what is going on.
what
here?
is going on.
Yeah. What's happening?
Were you threatened? Are
Yeah.
your friends like,
Yep.
Yeah.
why?
And I do want to go back and clarify some other, evidently some misunderstandings there. In the notes that we had, originally from the PIs, that, the previous video we had was, there was a comment made that one of the people that was interviewed, he was questioned as to what he thought happened, and he made the statement that he questioned the older brother as to what did you give Gavin, in reference to some kind of appeals or something. That
This is the friend talking to your private investigator a
correct,
couple of years ago.
correct, 2 years ago, that was in the previous interview. And so he was basically one of the first ones to accuse the older brother.
And the older brother that
Lived up above Gavin.
he's the one that had the apartment key.
Yeah.
Correct. And then there was also an unfortunate misstatement from the PIs about one of the girls in the close-knit group that prompted the quote, the affair, that
Theory.
That she had like a,
that she had a crush
on, or
on
an
Gavin.
eye for Gavin.
And we did not totally understand who that person was until we received these notes 13 months later and found out who he was actually talking about, and it ended up being one of the other girls in the group. So that was where the initial question became on the affair and who it was with. The other thing that I would like to clarify,
Real quick, but to our knowledge, an affair was never confirmed.
correct.
Yeah.
It
It was just
speculation
a theory
that
we came up with
that-
because of what they said.
right,
Yeah.
because
Because of what they told
of
me.
the notes, it was part of the PI's notes. It was stated that it was kind of known in their group that this
Yes.
girl
That's what it
had
says.
a crush on him, but to everyone's knowledge, there wasn't an affair happening. But it's also, I feel like, just important for everyone to understand that,
Well, that's where that idea even came from
Right.
for us.
Yes.
We had no idea.
and that this was stated by another friend right after Gavin's death.
Correct.
So
And these are in the PI's notes.
yep. Okay.
One of the other things that I would like to address that was in the previous, interview was the reason why the older brother was asked to leave Gavin's celebration of life. Number one, Gavin and him were not friends. That's just the bottom line. Number two, this older brother, basically admitted to my wife and I on the phone shortly after we had cleaned out his
Say
apartment
what he said. Not.
that, he had basically said on speakerphone that if he had known that Gavin did not owe his father any rent money, that things would have been different. So there is no other way that we would have taken that comment other than that he had done something. And immediately after he made that comment, we asked him what he said, and he said, "My mind is blown," and he immediately hung up. So we did not want that person at Gavin's celebration of life. This is our son that passed away, and we did not want to see him at that point in time.
Yep.
So that is why he was asked to leave. There was no big to do. There was no, fight or anything that went on. One of the older sisters went over and just asked them to leave. That's the bottom line.
Plus
Yeah.
the fact that he was day of, minutes, hours after Mike and Ernie found Gavin, this individual was sitting at the, 20, 30 yards from us in a bar stool like it was a Lifetime movie he was seeing and grinning.
Yeah.
Gavin's friend, supposedly. So, and that was something that numerous people witnessed, numerous family members. It aggravated them, and they were like, "What is he doing? Why is he sitting there? Why is he looking at us?" Just like Caitlin said, "Why is he grinning?" First of all, my sister didn't have to have a reason.
No, she didn't.
She could have asked anybody there to leave.
Yep.
She is hysterical. Her mind is not right. And instead of extending some grace and trying to understand what the horror my family is going through, everybody's feelings get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
That their friend was asked to leave. But did any of them reach out to us and say, you know, what's going on? Why was you asking?
Yep. Is everything
No,
okay?
they
What
assumed.
happened? Yeah.
They assumed.
Yeah.
Just like this whole reason for this is because someone assumed that their voice was going to be smothered and they wouldn't have their day
Mm-hmm.
because of an editing issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so they could hop on that wagon of I was wronged.
Yep.
So the irony.
Yeah.
The
Truly,
irony.
I think Gavin was wrong.
Yeah.
Like everybody else and their feelings can shut the fuck up.
Well, yeah. Another thing that
Like
just
it's not about you.
Yeah. Well, another thing that blows my mind is that post. There's all these, like, everybody's like standing up, fists ready to go and start punching.
Mm-hmm.
But none of that happened for Gavin.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not doing that for
Nobody
Gavin.
is standing up on the post that my sister made on the Chatty Cakes and defending Gavin.
Mm-hmm.
And he's dead. He's your friend.
Yep.
But your feelings were hurt. And the other comment that really, really, really was a punch in the gut is we're kind of tired of talking about it. It's been 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I'm trying real hard.
Yep.
That
I think
Sorry, but
no, but well, my response to it is that, but you haven't been talking.
no.
Right.
And you want to remain anonymous,
Mm-hmm.
and you won't have these other friends or people around Gavin. You won't try and get them
Right.
to come on, and they are too scared to do it.
Yeah,
That makes no sense.
you haven't been talking.
all they're doing is validating everything that we
Feel and
everything that we think happened, that we have come up with, has started with reading the report from the PIs.
Mm-hmm.
That's where all of these theories that we think happen. Why is he sitting at the end of the thing? Why is he smiling? He has a key to Gavin's apartment. He sold Gavin things he shouldn't have sold him. Did Gavin owe him money? I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
all, and it's
His
just
dad
like
employed him.
it
His
just
dad
keeps
was his
pointing back
landlord.
and pointing back and pointing back and pointing back.
Yeah.
And so,
And I do also, like, just for the listeners, want to clarify also, like, all of these theories and all of these statements that we're saying they came from people that were around Gavin and a part of this close-knit circle. So it's not like we're just speculating and like somebody told us that somebody said so-and-so said this or this happened or whatever. Like these are actual interview notes where a private investigator sat down with individuals and these are words that came out of those individuals' mouths. So it's not
he said, she said.
right. Yes. Just to make that clear for everyone.
A few other things that I would like to clear up too is the only people that are saying the word suicide is this little group. Even the medical examiner's report states that the death was accidental. Even when Shannon made her original post and said what the medical examiner's report said, all of Gavin's original high school friends came out and said, we knew he didn't commit suicide. So it's only the 4 or 5 people that keep coming up in these videos are the ones that keep claiming suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't understand how you can think somebody is going to commit suicide by falling asleep on a couch face down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's comical.
Give me a break.
That could even be
Several other things that I would like to address is the depression. Okay, yeah, Gavin was probably depressed. Gavin hadn't worked in several months. You know, other things that you're not aware of is that Gavin had gotten a job. You know, ask your best friend's older brother's dad. I have it in a text on July 14th where Gavin's landlord texted me and said that Gavin had gotten a job and that Gavin was going to start paying back every penny that he owed him. Go verify it. Gavin was also in the early July was receiving his college fund account that my brother had started for him. And mysteriously, I called after Gavin died to find out why he did not receive that college fund, because Gavin's brother had received his in early July. And mysteriously, the Capital Funds group said that they received that envelope back with return to sender written on the front of it. So I doubt very seriously that my son
Would have returned
would have
it.
returned that to sender. So to me, that means that one of the two people that lived up above Gavin wrote that on there and returned that to sender.
That's a theory.
And
that's a
that's-
hypothesis.
that's a
That is
theory.
something we think. That's
But-
not something we know.
I went ahead and asked them to send me that original envelope, so we have that in our possession, you know, that has that original handwriting on it. So,
Now we just
you
need
know,
to get somebody.
there's a lot of things that none of you original 5 people know that have not been disclosed yet. There is still a lot of information. We have video specialists that are looking over the body cam videos, that are looking over and going through Gavin's iCloud accounts. We have people that are going through his MacBook Pro, that are going into his cell phone to see what information was deleted from his cell phone after July 18th, 2022. So don't be surprised at what other information comes up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is far from over.
Yep.
So if you don't want to be silenced, you can continue talking or you can continue being silent. That's up to you. But you've been quiet for 2 years. That's your choice.
Yep.
But I can tell you right now that Shannon and I will not stop. Denise will not stop. Our family will not stop. Period.
You're not going to stop either.
Yeah, it's something else that I was thinking about. I was praying about this all day yesterday. Like, I know those boys were friends. I know they were.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them since elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
And I know they're hurting. And I know that it's hard. Trust us.
Yeah.
We know. And so I was thinking about that. And so my daughter has a group. I call them the Tribe of 5. There's 5 of them. And if the shoe was on the other foot, if I was living this hell that Mike and Remy are living, and it was Caitlin that we're over in here talking about, her friends would have been with me, calling. Nobody reached out to either of them. These are kids that if Gavin went at their house, they were at theirs for 20, 18, I don't know, 15 years, a long time. And so, and then there's the relationship with the parents, you know, your kids are at each other's house, then you have that relationship. Yeah. And oddly, I just find it so, I don't understand. I can't imagine not doing that if it was one of Caitlin's tribe, because me and those moms are thick as thieves. And being all up in their business and consoling and that kind of thing. So that's another whole nother
It's like
ball of wax.
where did the disconnect start? Like why
Why?
Why?
And why?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. You don't know what to say. Shoot, I mean,
But
come on.
like sometimes it's just like, hey, how are you doing? You know, like and yes, I get that. I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do, but you don't just do you the same thing. Sometimes just sitting.
I'm
like,
thinking about you. You're on my mind. I'm praying for you. It doesn't have to be a full blown conversation.
Hope you're having
But I
an
can't-
okay day.
That's what I don't get that either. I don't get that. I know that's me. Sorry. Yeah, it's my phone. It won't stop. I put it on silent and I can still hear it. So that was another like,
Yeah.
I don't know, gut punch kind of, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like if it were me or you, I would. I don't want to say I would care more, but I would have questions too. Like, I wouldn't just move on, not reach out. You know what I mean? Like, I get that as well,
Yeah,
you know?
why wouldn't you reach out? Have you found out what happened to Gavin? Any
Yep.
news? Anything? Y'all know
Yep.
anything? Is there
Or
anything I can do to help?
Anything I can do, yes. Yeah. Like, to me, it's just very, again, there's a disconnect. Where did it start and why?
Mm-hmm.
Why did
So that's
why?
another thing. We're like, what? And then I'm like, well, maybe that's me and how I feel and how I would react. It's not everybody's reaction.
Yeah.
But then when I asked my core, I'm like, if this had happened, they were like, girl, they were at my house. My core was at my house.
Mm-hmm.
Caitlin's Tribe of Five were all at my house.
Mm-hmm.
These are my girlfriends and my daughter's girlfriends.
Yep.
Not Gavin's
Mm-hmm.
friends. Or, you know, it was, so it just, it's just mind blowing to me.
Yeah,
We're
I think-
that close.
I think too, like, also to clarify, like, these friends were around for years, like,
Some of them.
since
Some of
young.
them were high school, but
Mhm,
yeah.
and that's a long
yeah.
time. And, like, core memory friendships type of thing, like core life things. So it's very, to me, it's very telling, but it doesn't tell us anything. Like, where, that's the thing.
Another
Why,
reason for us to
like,
think there was something happened.
yes.
I mean, we know something happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fact. We know that. Gavin had bruising on his back. He wasn't stoned. He wasn't drunk. So these are all things that we know.
I mean, even the police officers continued to ask us at the scene if Gavin fell a lot because he had bruises.
So many bruises.
You know, and if the disconnect came from us accusing the older brother, come to us and ask us why we feel that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
wouldn't you
don't
ask?
just disappear.
I can promise you one thing. If somebody was saying that I did something like this, I would be on the phone going, "What are you doing?"
Yep. Or what can I do
It's
to
like, why would you think
prove
that?
to you
What
that
have
I would
done?
never do this? Yes.
Why are you accusing my son?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Silence is damning.
Mm-hmm.
Silence is damning.
That's what I
Yes.
mean. It's like a play on words, but like, it's telling. Like, it's
Well-
speaking very loud.
Mhm.
The silence is very loud.
Yeah.
So, deep breaths. Deep breaths. Sam would be
Mhm.
like,
Is there anything else that you want to say, or we're obviously going to keep working together and putting this out there and trying to get answers and helping in any way we can.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the only other thing I want to make clear is we are not sugarcoating anything with Gavin. We know he was depressed. We know he drank. We know he smoked. We know that. The last conversation I had with Gavin, it was after Remy fell, and I just told him, I said, Gavin, I said, why don't you just come and live with me for a little while? You don't have to worry about rent. It takes that pressure off. You can get a job
Mm-hmm.
that you like and want. Gavin didn't want to go to work for somewhere that he wasn't going to be doing what he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, then you gotta take that pressure off. You can stay here. I'll feed you. You don't have to worry about anything. And he was like, no, I am the best I've ever been.
Yeah.
I'm the best I've ever been. I promise you. I got a job. And he hadn't, obviously, never got started. But that was the last conversation I had with Gavin.
Mm-hmm.
So we know there was some depression there.
Mm-hmm.
We're not denying that.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure everybody knows we're not trying to put a Band-Aid on
Right.
what Gavin did.
Yep.
So I guess that's all I can.
Yeah.
Now, as soon as you cut that off, I'm gonna be like, damn, dadgummit, I forgot.
We can start it back up.
Yeah.
No, I feel like we've said it many times too that I think we said it a couple with Gabe. 25, like that, mid-20s, that was hell. Like, I feel like most people, that you're like, oh, wait, am I grown up? What am I doing? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I?
Right.
Because you really do evolve so much in the early 20s that when you get to mid-20s, you are a different new adult being.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really like, who am I? What am I doing? So
and Gavin was just
the
figuring that
depression and stuff, and that's another thing too. With every case that we've worked on or covered, we try to make it extremely clear that it doesn't matter if you were depressed, had anxiety, bipolar. It doesn't matter if you are a sex worker, prostitute. It doesn't matter if you are an addict, a recovering. It doesn't matter. We're all human beings. Everyone deserves answers, clarity, and to be treated with the respect that I have a beating heart. I'm a human being.
Mm.
Do your job for everyone the way that you do for the middle class white person, you know, that doesn't smoke pot or hasn't drank a beer. Like the
Right.
person that goes to church on Sunday, like it doesn't, none of that
None of it should
stuff,
matter.
it doesn't change the facts that we have, the evidence that we have. And that's that something happened. And there are questions that people know the answers to.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, and I think the point of this whole thing is, and thank you guys so much for all of it, because it's really opened some doors. Obviously, it's fun. Hopefully, find out what happened to Gavin, but moreover, to bring awareness to all of this and to change the laws. Or I can't really speak to how the medical examiner came up with his determination, like what in his brain, but that there's some sort of protocol
yes.
that would, like, these are the reasons why you would not do an autopsy. Get that passed, and that's going to be what we would do for Gavin's grace, and that's something that hopefully when all this is over we'll be able to start in on it. But also to have some type of a resource, or if you ever do go through some hell like this, that you can, what should I look for? What questions should I ask? Who should have been, like, any guidance that we could have got, we would have grasped on. Like, do not have your loved one cremated if you
Without proof of
like have somebody lay their eyeballs
yes
on the bot, whatever. But don't make that mistake. Just things like that. It's like some type of a help.
like a checklist.
Yeah.
Like a guide.
Yes, on this god awful situation. So that we're trying to figure out, like, how do we take this and turn it into a positive that somebody
helps
can,
people.
something can be done. So that's the point of this: A, to find out what happened to Gavin, and B, to be able to start at Gavin's grace and hopefully get some laws changed and that kind of thing.
We really appreciate y'all sitting down with us and, you know, reliving a lot of things. I can't begin to imagine how difficult it is. And you guys are handling it with badassery. That's the word I want to use. I've continued to be impressed with how sweet and how caring you guys are when the world has really just punched you in the face over and over and over again, you know. It would be very hard for people to still walk around and give so much grace and have so much patience and humility. That it's
A lot of prayer time over the past, since Friday, on not coming through the screen.
yeah.
Probably wouldn't have been as tactful if you'd have talked to me Friday. As a matter of fact, I know it wasn't. Me and Michael were both pretty. And we encourage anybody that wants to have their voice heard to absolutely reach out to you guys. Please.
Yep.
We would love to hear, because every time one of these happens, something else comes out. So
Yeah.
we would very much encourage it.
Yes.
When we first started this thing, this whole project, I was like, we'll do an interview with them and that'll be it. And
Yeah, we're
she
gonna
was
try.
always like, no, Natalie, this is
I'm like,
way
nope.
bigger than that.
We'll probably
We're
spend the
gonna have
rest
to
of our
spend
lives doing this
so
because,
much more than just one episode on
Yeah.
this. So we're glad to do it.
and even if you don't, know anything about what happened to Gavin, but you want to come talk about Gavin or share fun memories, please do that too, because I think he is obviously the driving force behind this, and getting to know him through his friends and family has been amazing. Like,
Yeah.
he just,
I know I kind of feel somewhat robbed of that, because I had to come on here and instead of telling my stories about Gavin and how much I loved him, I had to, which all things work together for good, because Mike and I are absolutely the ones to do that. So I willingly and gladly give that up. But I'm glad it happened in the time that it happened. Very glad it happened in the time it happened. I'm glad I didn't go first or second or third even.
we should sit down again and you can tell us all. I love hearing about Gavin. He just seems so fantastic.
He was.
Like, he would be
And
a
he's
friend.
cute.
Yeah.
And he's
He
super
is cute.
He's
He
super
is cute.
cute.
Yes, he is. One word I always hear about is sweet. Sweet. He was sweet.
Genuine
Yeah.
personality.
Never met a stranger. And I just love that he kept all. That is something I would do. I would put those little bells in the ground. Like, I was like, oh my God, I would do that. I have stuff in those bags. But I think that's so sweet. We're going to come up with something for you to make out of those bells.
Yeah. Well, you go. I'll think of something.
Yeah,
Definitely.
it'll be cool.
Very much. Thank you guys so much.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you again.
Yeah. Thanks for letting us.
All right. Should we do our...
Closing.
Yeah.
You want
to? You want me to start it?
It's you. It's always you starting it.
Okay. Please like and leave reviews. Let us know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong. But if you're going to be an asshole, please be a funny one.
And keep your pistol in your pants.
Don't do meth.
Don't do meth.
And please take care of each other.
Yes. This is the Expired Podcast.
Hi.
Bye.